So, yes, this is it, Sunny Report Live. And we have our special guest already on. And then, of course, Dr. Boniface Chizia is also there. Comrade Ajaero is also with us. Well, you're all very welcome. And I'm hoping that we'll make the best of this situation, because it's been very interesting what's been happening. Today, as we speak, not far from here, there's a lot of preferential, I don't know whether it's preferential, that's not the word. There's reaction to the anniversary. Today is the anniversary of the NSARS of 2020. So today is October 20 and the year was 2020. But our conversation today really has to do with how are we dealing with situations when it comes to governance, when it comes to people that we, that are suffering on the streets and in the markets and all of those places because of the, they say it's rising inflation and all of those other things. I have a financial analyst, and I'm going to talk to him later. But my main guest is Comrade Joe Ajaero. How are you, sir? Can you just
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm happy you are here. I just want to, before I come to you, let me quickly establish Dr. Boniface Chizia. Dr. Boniface, how are you, sir?
Sunny, well, always a pleasure to join you.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
both of you, I want you to look at two things before we go into the main issue of governance. The World Bank is saying that Nigeria needs to tighten its belt. And I remember in 1986, the same thing was structural adjustment program. And the people were tightening, and up till now we are still tightening the belt. And on your WhatsApp page, Dr. Boniface, I listened to a rebuttal, if that's what it was, somebody who reacted to that World Bank representative's statement and write-up on Financial Times. And I really wondered, should Nigeria be told what to do about its economy? Dr. Boniface.
Sonny, once you sign up as a member of such multilateral financial institutions, then they have their protocols. One of their mandates is that they should try and that towards a global village. So they should try and make sure that people are not so insular. They're not concerned about what happens elsewhere. But unfortunately, what happens with IMF and World Bank is that they have a rigid approach. They have their templates, which they apply regardless. So that's the issue. So
you see, when you said regardless, that means regardless of the country it affects. They don't live with us.
Particular circumstances. So it's for you as a member, to stand up and said, we can't take this because it cannot work. I mean, we live here. There's not been discontinuity in Nigeria. Discontinuity is with governance. So when the immediate past actuation was here, they didn't lose subsidy. Suddenly, they didn't attempt to float exchange rate of the naira. It's an attempt that we've done before. So they're not new territories for us. We've done them before. And we know what the experience is. So it's not something that is new. So it's something that as soon as you went there, you knew what to expect. But so one other point you didn't touch in your comment is that the World Bank person did say that commended the president and said we need to stay the course.
Well, commended, that's really worrisome. He said 10 to 15 years. Anyway, this is where I'm going to bring in our main guest.
By then, the economy, the bottom has fallen off the Nigerian economy. That's exactly what it's going to to be. This is hunger. People are suffering. Let me tell you something. I just saw a video. Nigerians are killing now.
Sorry, your internet is having problems.
Is it?
We're not hearing you well, sir.
Okay, maybe I should use my headphone.
Meanwhile, let me quickly welcome our main guest, Comrade Joe Ajaero. How are you, sir? President of the NLC.
I'm fine, thank you, Sonny.
Yes. Well, you saw the banter we started with just now, and we're coming into you because it directly affects you, the Labour Congress, the people of Nigeria, and governors, Nigerian governors, how everything is now going topsy-turvy. Now, Dr. Boniface has said a few things, but he also mentioned that we are in a kind of agreement situation with all of those. It's a global thing, right? World Bank, IMF, and all of that. We always have to agree with them. We always have to join them. But nobody is aware of the fact that Tinubu is not popular in Nigeria because of those decisions he has taken and has plunged Nigeria into its current situation. And this is why the Labour Congress has been very, very vocal, and they're trying its best not to protest, and is trying its best to protest. You see how I played the comsa there. So, comrade, go ahead, please. What's your reaction?
I think the challenge is the position of World Bank in this regard. You mentioned in your introductory statement about the structural adjustment program.
Yes.
When the military then told us that there is no alternative to SAP.
Yes.
And I could remember as student union leaders, we equally organized and said there was an alternative to SAP. Okay. At the end of the day, it came to a climax where even students had to come out and test. And the nation, there was this outpour of discontentment during the military. To an extent that Babangida came up to say, oh, this is civilian coup. That was when he set up Tifri, MAMSA, Road Safety, People's Bank, and so many other organizations that he wanted to create a 1 million job. IMF and World Bank have never, I repeat, rescued any economy. No country has come out of recession based on the pills provided by the IMF and World Bank. I think we should understand it from that perspective. World Bank and the IMF, with their shock doctors, can only come to a country to advise them if it is a debtor nation. And I think that's the situation we are. Nigeria is not indebted to World Bank or an IMF. They will not tell us how to run our economy. They will not tell us to privatize. They will not tell us to deregulate. All those policies are policies that destabilize countries in the world. And the NLC consistently too, and all world global labor organizations have been advising countries to stay away from IMF and World Bank. Because their advices, are capable, or in most instances, stabilize nations. Countries like Greece and some others, because they followed IMF advice. Now, coming to the advice they just gave now, that it may take 10 years or 15 years for the economy of Nigeria to stabilize. If we continue to listen to them, it will take over 50 years for it to stabilize. There was a period in the 70s, and Nigeria was giving loan to IMF. And then
Nigeria was giving loan to IMF. Yes, that's interesting.
Yes, clearly.
Okay.
Yes, clearly. But because we are maybe successive governments up to where we are now, have been taking loans, and then we are now resorting to taking loans from IMF and World Bank. Their loans not help us. Nigerians are, involved in this economic recovery policy. It was one of the reasons we raised government last time, that you can't have this economic policies and committees and teams that you don't take even a comment from the people that create wealth. If we are there, if we are talking to workers in the country to be patient, we know that we have an internally, mapped out policy to recover our economy, not based on the prescriptions from IMF and World Bank. Nigerians, if you ask them to make sacrifices, those of them that know World Bank and IMF, if you are indebted to them, they will not make sacrifices. But if it is just internally for us to design our own peculiar situation and how to come out of any economic problem, Nigerians can discuss it. We can have a conscious discussion around this and all the stakeholders, to move our economy forward. Or to depend on IMF and World Bank, they are not they can't do anything to stabilize the economy of Nigeria. They still see us as a third world country with certain potentials. Those potentials, in fact, it makes them uncomfortable for Nigeria to rise to be a super country, will be a threat to all those Bretton Woods institutions. That's my position on this.
Thank you very much for this. But let me ask you, with the way Nigeria, the current situation in Nigeria started last year in 2023, what would be your reaction or suggestion or advice, as it were, to how Nigeria is? I mean, your advice to Nigerians, that's the people who are really hard hit by all this whole matter. What's your advice to them because of the way things are happening? Look, since 2023, things have changed. It's not about running from pillar to post again. It's complete reversal of whatever used to be good is no longer good at all. Yes.
Well, you can still
go on.
You can still build it around. You can still build it around.
Sorry, somebody's phone is ringing, and please, number N, switch your phone off, or we'll. Okay, please go ahead, my comrade.
What I said earlier.
Yes.
About Nigeria people and the government. Sonny.
Yes. I'm listening to you. Please go ahead.
Having an all-inclusive economic team, where we are going to discuss on the way out. Now, talking to us is different from talking with us. And we need to look at this very well so that we will be co-authors to the blueprint on the economic recovery. Now, in one or two meetings that I happened to take on with the state, they were telling us that a company like NNPC does not bring any money to the federation account.
Isn't
and
that
everybody
strange?
In this world, yes, very strange. Everybody in this world knows that Nigeria's mainstay is oil. And now, if the mainstay of our economy, after agriculture, in the 60s or whatever, and they moved into this petrodollar arrangement. If that is the case, and every Nigerian knows that we have abundant deposit of oil, and now the government, from the Minister of Finance, and I'm talking of last week, says that NNPC does not bring any money to the federation account, then that means Nigerians need to know. They need to know why the NNPC is still in existence. They need to know whether there are no more crude in the country. From this point, we can move ahead. There's no need having a government that is we and them. Every patriotic Nigerian should be involved. And when you are now telling people to tighten their belt, they know the basis to tighten their belt. They won't feel that it is the same slogan, of leaders who say tighten your belt while they are doing other things. And then people will ask questions, on the issue of the revenue of this country. What is happening to A? What is happening to B? What is happening to, revenue from other sources? And then I think from there, we can move on. But some of these things we are coming up because we are demanding for a fair wage. And that's where all these revelations are coming from. And I think we have to discuss this. This thing has to be brought to the table.
Okay, you see, from all indication, it appears that NLC and government are not on the same page at all from all this, from what you're saying.
Yeah, the issue is that they have the apparatus, of state to determine how much they are realizing. And by the time you tell us that you are not realizing anything, and we ask questions, and then the economy is biting on us, and we need a salary, to enable us to survive. That's the essence of not being on the same page. But we're on the same page on the basis of moving this country forward. What are we going to do to move this country forward? But if it is each time you ask for, 1 naira increase, and you say you are not making money. Now, if you have increased the pump price of petroleum products by over 200 or 300% or 500%, common knowledge will just tell us that these people, whatever is revenue they are getting, is going to increase clearly. Now, if there is crisis in the Middle East, if there is crisis in Ukraine, and then the crude price is going up, now
we should gain.
Common sense will tell everybody in the country that Nigeria is earning much from crude. Now, if you now turn back to tell us that there's no money from crude, there's no money from this, there's in such a situation we can't be on the same page. So I think to that extent, yes, I agree with you. We're not on the same page, But if they have now to prove to us why a price of crude is going high, and then we are not making money, when we are one of the major OPEC countries that export crude, it's important when every Nigerian understand this clearly, and I think we have to insist on this.
Okay, I'm going to bring in Dr. Boniface Chizia here, because this is very instructive. Dr. Boniface, is it true that NNPC does not bring money into the coffers of the Federation? And if so, why? Unmute yourself. Dr. Boniface, unmute yourself. Oh, what is she? Dr. Boniface, unmute yourself, please.
Okay.
Okay, I can hear you now. Yes.
Okay, let's see. Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Well, I thought I was doing the headphone, so something's.
Sorry.
Okay. What I think I was saying that. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
I was using the headphone to see if it will help us.
No, we can hear you. We can hear you very well now without the headphone.
Okay, are you ready?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay, I was just saying that the issue of a lack of transparency at NNPC has always been with us for a long time. Former governor of Central Bank, who is now, Emir of Kano, we don't know where he is now. He came openly and asked the NNPC, where are the dollars?
Where are the dollars? I remember that.
That was common. It was open. It was everywhere. Even if Sanusi was a bit. Yes, where are the dollars? He asked them, where are the dollars? So it's been a case. The fact that NNPC, there's no transparency at NNPC, has been with us for a long time. NNPC, nobody knows what goes on there. So take the guy that is
hello?
At the head there, people have been agitating that the man should move on. So you say NNPC, you tell us NNPC is it commercialized and so on, they've taken it to the market. And yet, there's still so much confusion in the place. Look at the way they've handled the Dangote. Dangote refinery. Most of us economists were praying for Dangote refinery to come on stream. And it comes on stream. When you're talking of really the policies and the decisions that were taken by this government, one of the decisions of us who have been around for a while, they say is that you don't remove subsidy like you did it, because it will only have one effect. And that effect is now with us. You don't try and float the naira. You don't float the exchange rate, because.
Okay, we're having a bit of connection problems. Okay, Dr. Boniface, yes. It froze again, so I'm going to go over back to Comrade Ajaero.
To my phone.
Yes, sorry about that. Yeah, Dr. Ajaero.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think he's still online.
Yeah, he is.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think if he says I'm frozen. I don't know. I changed the source of my internet.
Yeah.
So you're not hearing me now?
We can hear you. Yes.
You're not hearing me.
We can hear you. We can hear you. We are hearing you.
Yeah. Well, this is the cause discontinuity. So they affect your thought process.
Yes.
What I was saying is that you don't do those things this government did. You don't go that way. What the problem with this economy is that you don't have productivity. That's what exactly that's. You're putting it simply. And so you had Dangote refinery that was waiting to come on stream. Instead of doing what they did, we should have concentrated to make sure that that would do everything that they started production. If we did that, we will not be importing refined petroleum products. And if we're not importing them, the issue of subsidy will not be there. They didn't do that. And then you talk of the exchange rate itself, you now go and float it. You float it, you look for productivity. Look for how. Look, Nigeria is a farm territory in agriculture. Not happening in Nigeria because of insurrection. All those who should be in the farms, they are in camps because they've been displaced by Boko Haram and so on and so forth. So you concentrate, even if you don't have the capacity, even if you have to borrow, eat the humble pie and go overseas and bring people to help us fight this things. I thought the immediate past government was in bed with the Boko Haram and so on and so forth. But this is Tinubu's government. So why should we be playing games with them? We should just attack them because that's the way to go.
Okay.
We have to boost productivity. Yeah.
All right. Yes, thank you very much. I'm going to take a message from the WhatsApp. Somebody has written something here before I go back to Comrade Ajaero. It says, good afternoon. IMF and the World Bank made similar promises in the 80s during the structural adjustment program. We should not confuse harsh economic policies to mean reform. Subsidies were removed to make the governance easy for the politicians and not for the welfare of Nigerians. Dr. Comrade Ajaero, you have to take note of that one. If we all agree that structural adjustment program was disastrous to our economy, why should we be expecting different outcome now? The policies of this administration will be discussed in the future as how not to destroy an economy. This is from Imo. Imo did not say from what part of Lagos or from what part of Nigeria he is, but good afternoon, he says. All right. Thank you very much. Now, Comrade, what's your response to some of these assertions now by Dr. Boniface and then Imo, and then, of course, what you said earlier?
Well, I'm
sorry, having short time again. Your voice has gone off again. Comrade?
I'm not sure he disagreed with myself or that's his view. Yes. I equally agree with him that these IMF policies are not economic recovery policies. And I think I've stated that before.
Yes.
IMF there for their own to serve their masters. Like I said, almost all Bretton Woods institutions, serve their masters. And then they are not here for our economy to do well. That's not why they are here. And they'll keep on pushing because what they want is some negative reports, riot in the streets of Lagos, protests in the streets of Abuja or in Kenya or whatever. Those are things because this process of neo-colonialism, and we need to get it from that angle without going into the conspiracy theory kind of. IMF and World Bank can't serve the interests of Nigeria. Now, if we're talking of harsh economic policy, we can't come out of it by adopting the policies of IMF and World Bank. Never. Because even from the countries where IMF and World Bank are coming, there are still subsidies. Countries determine where to subsidize. Is it in energy, is it in agriculture, wherever. Countries determine it. No matter is it in education, no matter how small, no matter how little. So by the time the IMF comes to say remove subsidy, and Nigeria seems to be obeying them because I could remember the very moment they said you are not charging enough in terms of electricity tariff. And anybody with sound economic sense in Nigeria would know that if you increase tariff in electricity, that most companies will fold up. Most companies will fold up. If you have the twin policy of increase on pump price of petroleum products and another policy of increasing tariff It then means in either way you suffer. If you go and buy diesel or PMS at a high cost, your business will not survive. If you go and pay tariff, as the case may be, your business will equally, not survive if the tariff is high. So whichever way, look at it, the policy or the prescription of the IMF and World Bank are choking. And I wonder why we should dance to it. Okay. In a country where you are talking of maybe 4,000 megawatts of electricity, for almost 200 and something million people. And they're telling you to, increase tariff on that product that is equally not available. Mm-hmm. And, simple economics shows that a product that is not available cannot be affordable. Product that is not accessible, cannot be affordable. And that's the situation we found ourselves today by listening to IMF and World Bank. Okay. So it's killing. The best thing is to disregard their policies. Don't go there. Let us, if we're owing them, we'll see how we can even go into repayment. There have been governments in this country that just went into debt repayment. And then we'll get off from them forever and ever, and we don't go back there. So that's my own suggestion on this. Okay,
let me ask you specifically now, comrade. You are president of the Nigeria Labour Congress, and things have been going on and off. There's in the first week of October, they said there was going to be protests, and we've been expecting it to happen. People had series of meetings to determine whether or not the protest will take place, or whether the minimum wage will be more than the 70,000 that they agreed to. So really, what is the relationship now between government and NLC on behalf of the people?
Well, the two protests that took place, the NLC was not involved, and for obvious reasons. Okay. We had a 1 day or 1.5 day strike, and the country, when they refused to even negotiate minimum wage, and it was not palatable to almost everybody, both the government and citizens. And by that time, we started changing our process of engagement. We reduce the idea of protest and whatever, except when it becomes absolutely necessary. But the greatest problem and challenge we have is not just agreements. We have reached so many agreements with government, but the sanctity of such agreements, respecting it, that has been the problem. There are various ways we can discuss.
Who doesn't respect it? Okay, the government does not respect the sanctity. Okay.
Yes, almost all successive governments. From last year, when the issue of removal of subsidy came into full, we had an agreement on the issue of this CNG. We had an agreement on the issue of Port Harcourt refinery working by the end of 2023. We had agreement on, cash transfer to some category of Nigerian workers. We had agreement on wage award, and they paid last in February. All this, our problem, each time we meet, our problem has not been trying to fashion out the best way to go and how to solve these problems. But at the end of the day, these agreements are not honored. I think that's the greatest problem we have. If these agreements are honored, we can take it one after the other and we'll be somewhere today. So that is why, in most instances, Nigerians come up with some Nigerians will come up with Labour has compromised, Labour is not fighting, Labour is not. The same Nigerians, if we take bold steps, because we have the capacity to take actions that are so effective, within 24 hours. But the same Nigerians will be the potential victims. So we are now in a fix to know how best to navigate this water. That's where Labour is. But that doesn't mean that.
Yeah, go ahead. I wanted to ask you a question regarding this respecting agreements. What is the meaning of an agreement if both of you rise from a meeting and you say you agree that the following decisions have been taken and so you are bound by it? There's honor from both sides that those agreements are, honored. or carried out. Now, when they are not carried out, you know whose responsibility it is. You know who to blame. So what explanation do they give for not obeying or agreeing to the agreement?
Well, I think this question will be better, answered by those in government. Because each time, when people continue to ask you for more time, ask you to be patient, they will do this, they will do that. Now it creates a problem. It's not like absolute, no, we are not going to do it. Far from it. Government is working on it. Let me give you an example, with the issue of 4 months arrears of university workers' salaries.
Yes.
And at the point we are negotiating, yes, NASU and SANU, and other unions in the university. By the time we are negotiating minimum wage, we brought this matter up and took it seriously with Mr. President. He called his team to make sure that it's paid immediately. And between that time and now, June, up to now, nothing has happened. We raised it up again.
Even when the president
have held meetings, they have. Sorry?
As even when the president asked them to pay it, they
last week,
yes.
Direct instruction. So but when we met last week Wednesday, before that last week Wednesday, weeks before, I had written another letter reminding the Minister of Finance. And I even followed it up with a call, and we made promises. And at that meeting again, they said they met the previous day. They're going to work on it. They're going to look at modalities. Since they are trying to pay a new minimum wage now, which is going to cost, all those stuff. And this is what you hear from time to time, bringing delay tactics. At the end of the day, they create unnecessary tension. And people start to lose their patience. So that is the situation we have found ourselves. If agreements are reached, and none of these agreements were reached under duress on the part of government, never. Both parties consented to this. And at the end of the day, one party. You can look at 2009 ASO agreement up to this moment. So that's the point I'm making. If we respect the sanctity of agreements, like contract, and then things will be easier, the tension we are seeing will not be there. We may not, may have achieved 100%, but at least the other party knows that, you are serious in this process.
Okay, now, the agreements were made and nothing was respected, and NLC did not do anything. You see, if you say we have agreed, and if you don't stand by your agreement, then we must not. We will go back to protesting or striking again. NLC didn't do that. So who is calling who what?
Well, you see the issue. You are between the devil and the red blue sea. Now if NLC also have the capacity in the next 24 hours shut down this economy, every aspect, who do you think will suffer? It's good we get this. Nobody can tell us of, or accuse us of lacking the capacity. Nobody. And I'm saying this without mincing words. But we happen to be one of the foremost pan-Nigerian organizations with high patriotic commitment to the Nigerian project. And that's why we weigh these options, before we take any decision. And then some of them will have used persuasion to get to a certain level. The CNG thing we are talking of now, almost a year plus after, they are releasing vehicles. But the vehicles they are releasing, there are no places you are going to fill them. Now, if you accept such vehicles, which are hybrid, it then means you continue to fuel them with PMS because they have not made provision for the CNG. What then are you doing? We are still buying, PMS at a high cost. I'm saying these things so that we understand it. The wage award, part of it was paid. And the Port Harcourt refinery, they say it has reached a 90% completion in that order. Now, this last meeting we had, they say almost 5 refineries, other refineries, including modular refineries, are coming into stream. All this, today warrant their total shutdown. And then at that meeting again, some states have paid, some agencies have paid the minimum wage, And we agreed that by the end of October, every state must comply. So is it any small provocation shutdown? I think we have to equally look at these options. It is at the last option that the issue of protest or strike comes up. And I think we have grown beyond, a small provocation would do it. We can use protest, we can use persuasion in most instances to achieve some of this.
Well, okay, good point you're making there. The point remains that the people are still suffering. Take-home pay cannot take them home. So really, what can they do? Between the devil and the deep blue sea, you said, okay, what about the people that swore on the Bible and the Quran to, maintain the sovereignty of Nigeria, meet the basic needs of the people of Nigeria? We the people, that's what they say in democracy, right? So how can we therefore make sure that these two organs, NLC on the one hand, federal government on the other hand, or Nigerian government on the other hand, how can they now create a symbiotic relationship that will make it possible for the ordinary Nigerian, the average Nigerian, to be on top of it all and overcome its economic woes? This is the problem. And you represent the people.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, as much as I quite realize the important position, the critical role, just like any other labor movement, undermine the constitutional rule given to certain agencies and organs of government. Because I have checked, apart from agitation, and the protecting the interests of our members and the rights enshrined in the section 40 of the Constitution for labor and our right to existence, just like every other Nigerian. I know that there is clear constitutional role given to the House of Representatives and the Senate. Ditto to state assemblies. Clearly, I know that there are clear constitutional rules in separation of powers given to the judiciary. All these agencies of government seem to now be pushing their responsibilities. Where is labor? It is only the judiciary have a way of checking the executive and legislature. The legislature have a way of checking, even the excesses of the executive in this order, so that we'll have a balance. For these roles, despite, eloquent rights given to all these agencies, all these arms of government by the Constitution, they have collapsed it to what is NLC saying. Today, we have a dilemma that if somebody has a problem with the wife in the house, is what would the NLC say? What is the NLC saying? I think we'll have to, in those days, I could remember a period under the military when NLC was dissolved. And as a student union leader, the story I gave to you about, Babangida creating jobs, whatever, was based on agitation and protest organized by the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS. And what happened? The country, benefited from it. And it made sense. I equally know during the June 12 annulment, the NLC was not on ground to lead that fight. That the civil society groups, came out, and only God knows the role they played. So these arms, the student community, the civil society allies, and labor, if they come together to ask for, good governance, I think it will make more impact. And everybody now relax, say NLC have compromised, NLC is weak, NLC is docile. It's good we understand this, that all of us, all hands must be on deck. Both those that the Constitution gave a role today to play the role. Both those of us that came from the activist background, civil society, student community, and labor. Everybody must play their role. If you leave it to one role, one body, will continue to complain. There will be this gap. This gap will not be there to fill. Everybody, legislature, judiciary, student leaders, workers, and other civil society groups.
Okay, now I'm going to leave the phone open. We've really spoken for a long time. We have about 19 minutes for the phones to blare if they will ring. And then for those who are sending messages like the gentleman Imo sent from WhatsApp, please feel free to call us. In the meantime, I will give Dr. Boniface, and I think there are other faces I'm seeing in the Zoom chambers. I would like them to, well, just to signify and identify yourself and speak. But meanwhile, Dr. Boniface, you have heard Comrade Ajaero speak. Okay, the phone is ringing. Yes. Let me just quickly take the phone, please. Hello, good afternoon. Hello. Okay, we've lost that. We were so busy trying to pick which correct one. Anyway, yeah, Dr. Boniface, look at this whole thing. Whose responsibility is anybody to look after the interests of Nigerians?
Yes. Well,
okay. I have a call. Sorry. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello? Good afternoon, sir. Mr.
Yes, sir. How are you?
Fine. Simon, calling from Abulega.
Yes, okay.
Please, I want to ask the labor leader a question.
Okay.
What are they going to do? Because this fair price now is increasing on a daily basis. It increased to 10,000 liters per liter before you do something. You cannot just say the victim with the Nigerians if they go.
Okay.
It should call on a total lockdown.
Okay.
So that the people will join in.
Let make your question. Yes. Hold on.
He's the president of the labor union.
Hold on, sir. I want the comrade to speak. You've made your point. No, yes, sir. Hold on. Let him react to what you asked. You said, what are they going to do since the interest the pump price is rising on a daily basis, and you were worried that it might even get to up to 10,000 naira per liter. So what will NLC do? Okay, NLC, sir. Simon from he didn't say from where, but he just phoned to ask that question. What's your reaction to that, sir?
Okay, I didn't hear the person, but from what you have said, I think you have agreed the question he asked.
Yes.
I can approach it now.
Yes.
See, the issue is that we realize from all successive governments in Nigeria that each time they increase pump price of petroleum products, we protest, we strike. They remove 10 naira, remove 20 naira. Next time, they increase. Every government in this country. And when I came on board as NLC president with the ESCO, we tried to wear a thinking cap. And we decided to engage them. We are the people that proposed the issue of CNG. Because the gas deposit in the country can sustain this country for the next 500 years. And it is clean energy. There's no danger in terms of the ecosystem. Now we made proposal for us to drive this process of CNG. Now, if we succeed on it, if you like, you sell a liter of PMS for 50,000. We have an alternative for CNG if it provides an alternative to it. And as of today, a vehicle you fill with about 50,000 PMS, it will not take you 2,000 to fill it under the CNG. The only problem we are going to have is that we have to make sure the CNG gas is restricted so that we don't go into, okay, since we now have alternative in CNG, we have to start increasing the price. That, as a labor movement, we want to take. So the problem is that if they continue to increase this and we have alternative, now you see that it will not make sense for me to now go and buy, a PMS when I can switch over to CNG. That's the only thing provided because we have noticed that this is becoming perennial. And unfortunately, again, we're not refining domestically. So if you don't refine domestically, you have to buy at the international rate. And when they bring all this logic of, landing costs and all that, the value, and look at it again, they are floating the currency. So by the time you are floating the currency and you are importing, the price will continue. So we decided to look at this alternative to PMS. If we achieve this alternative as soon as possible, we'll not, as a labor movement, we'll not even know whether they're increasing PMS or not.
Okay.
That's the only approach we come up with in this instance.
Okay.
But to say that, the increase, now that they have deregulated, private people are there. If private people are now, refining, they are there for profit.
Yeah, well,
so it becomes more complex.
That's where I was going to, because we have smaller refineries everywhere around the country, but they're not even given a chance to really, join the race so that the cost price can be brought down. Anyway, Dr. Boniface, you were actually trying to talk when I stopped you when the caller came. I'm so sorry about that. Please go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that the comrade has some point. The crisis in Kenya, something happened in Kenya, when they started increasing, making life unbearable for the people. I'm not sure it was the labor union that led that crisis. So I think that, when you have labor in the forefront, they can easily be targeted. So they're good for them, and they can. I don't know why we have civil society organizations, to have the student union organizations and so on. Why are they not acting? They should act. This thing is happening because there's no fear. So the impunity has grown wings in the land. So you can do anything and say you're being macho and so on and so forth, and you're punishing people everywhere. People are clean for bread in this country. It's never happened before. It's only as quickly as an economist, let me say that the target should be for us to reduce the rate of inflation.
Okay.
All these increasing wages and increasing prices and increasing this.
Can I take this call?
Way to go.
Can I take this call? Hello, good afternoon.
You can take. We are standby.
Yes. Good afternoon. What's your name, please? Adeyemi from Lekki. Go ahead, please.
Yes. Thank you for raising this issue.
Yes.
On your show. And I'm happy that at least major stakeholders that we see as a boss and are supposed to be representing all are listening to us. God bless you. Second,
go on.
The summary of what I just want to say is that considering where we were before this removal, if you ask me, it is subsidy that has put this country in the place that we are now. I don't know the security of it, but it was as that subsidy was moved that dollars started skyrocketing, things started getting expensive, we couldn't control fuel price again. So if we are better off, I'm not saying anything or raising a protest or something. It's just an observation. What are we gaining from this removal of subsidy? Now, I don't know if I'm wrong, but one of the things I have heard recently on the radio is that Nigeria has the weakest currency in Africa as of now.
Okay.
I did some research yesterday.
Okay. Your main question is what are we gaining from removal of subsidy?
It has just been deteriorating since this subsidy era.
Yes.
Nigeria know what's going on.
Okay. All right.
Let us know what's going on.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sorry, one major point. Sorry.
Go on.
The summary of it, as I can see, it is as if this skyrocketing in dollar or pound is just politicians enriching themselves. Because if you ask me, they are the ones doing this this foreign currency.
Okay. Thank you.
They are the ones that are releasing this currency, and they are just enriching themselves at the detriment of the mass.
Okay. Now, see, the thing is, when people call, they should actually go straight to the question and then let it be. But then we won't have an avalanche of speeches upon speeches. Okay. The summary of what he said. What have we gained from subsidy? That's one. Number two, why is the dollar to the naira? The naira is dropping. The dollar is rising. Because, the dollar stays one place. It's the naira that is actually rising for us to see the fall. So those two are issues, subsidy, and then where is there a need for the comparison between the naira and the dollar? Do I make sense, both of you? Comrade, did you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Subsidy. Why should there be subsidy? Why are we suffering from the subsidy if it is subsidy removal? And the second one, of course, is the dollar against the naira. Why is the naira dropping all the way down? In fact, as of now, I think it's 1,700 or so. What are we doing about it? He suspects that the politicians are doing it to enrich themselves. That's the last point that I did not add.
Well, okay. I don't know if I should take it, but it's more of a
okay. Yes, go ahead.
Issue.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Subsidy, like Comrade did say, there's no country in the world that doesn't have subsidy. The thing is how to manage your subsidy. The one in Nigeria, like most things, it's been grossly mismanaged, and it causes lots of problems. Even the subsidy administration itself is opaque. There are lots of corruption within the thing. But what was happening is that we were importing fuel, and we're not recovering the cost of importation. So people keep on talking about where's this subsidy and so on. The subsidy didn't go to anybody. But you import something for 10 naira, and you recover 6, then you subsidize by 4 naira. That's exactly what it is. So I've had people who don't have complete understanding of these things shouting, "Who got the subsidy? Where has subsidy gone to?" No, what's happening is that it's part of what's happening that we are not recovering. We import these things, and we now under recover what it cost us as a nation. So that's the challenge. And because of this disparity in price, then also of malpractices we are allowed to come on board. So you have a fuel is being taken outside the country, and then the amount of fuel we are told we consume is unbelievable. There's corruption everywhere. So I think that's the thing. But the rate of exchange of rates, there's no magic about that. The demand for dollar is incredible in this country.
Okay, let me ask a question. I want to ask a question. Why why are we not allowing smaller refineries, at least as long as they meet the minimum requirement, why don't we allow them to join the race so that we're not depending too much on the 4 refineries that are not working, and then the one that is working by Aliko Dangote, we are not even allowing him to operate? What's going on?
So you asked this question, Dangote told you. He told you, he told you that the mafia in this fuel importation is even stronger than the one in drug business. He said it. He didn't hide it. He said it's on camera. There's conflict of interest. Those who are supposed to be doing these things are those who are gaining from it. And so the people are going to lose their positions. People are going to lose the things they've been enjoying. And they don't care. Because they don't care about the interests of the larger society.
Every time I get somebody, I always ask a question, is there anyone above the law? Nobody has answered that yet to my satisfaction. So
in Nigeria, there are, of course. In Nigeria, there are, because in the state capture,
okay,
judiciary is under capture.
Yes.
So there's someone above the law. Look at the elections in Edo. So look at what I was in this session. Somebody asked me. I told the person, is it possible for APC to lose that election? That's what I asked the person, and the immediate answer is no. There's no transparency anywhere. Judiciary is under capture. Everybody and INEX under capture, and we know what to do. But those who are benefiting from it is like asking a thief to go and catch a thief.
Comrade, you give the last word. In the meantime, I would like to quickly read from because we have less than 3 minutes. I want to quickly read a message from somebody else here on WhatsApp. He said, to simplify what the Labour leader said to the caller, no hope for fuel price reduction. To me, the CNG is another sham, as it should increase and become more expensive as fuel if Nigerians start moving to CNG. Nigerians should be ready to buy fuel for 2,000 or more in months to come, and it is very unfortunate that Nigerians are suffering and smiling or waiting for a superhero to fight for them. Comrade, do you see yourself as a superhero? Comrade? Your last word.
You
have 2 minutes. Yes, go ahead.
You want me to respond to this or your earlier question on...
The 3 of them respond, yes.
Well, the earlier question you asked about the value...
Yes.
Okay. The value of the naira and the dollar. There used to be a time in this country, and I'll go back to that, when the naira was stronger than the dollar, clearly.
True. Yes.
In fact, in the early 80s.
Yes.
You have a naira stronger than the dollar, and then we started mismanaging it. So it's a historical fact. And by the time we continue to mismanage it, you now have, a country that you don't have products, you have both comparative and competitive advantage. It then means even the one that you should determine the price in your country, the prices are being determined abroad. Now, if we refine crude here to PMS, of course, there are other products, almost 100 and something products that are contained after refining. If we do it here, the industries here will work, the companies will work, the refineries will work, other companies will work. We'll have a lot of advantage coming in from this. But if we export crude and go back to buy PMS, one product from it, now it then means we have to incur a lot of cost on it. The price of our crude again will not be enough, to get us a refined product. And that is why the issue of subsidy starts to come in. And I think we have to wear a thinking cap. The very moment our refineries are working, and then the private refineries that you alluded to work. And I'm going to take this along with the last question. If we have so many refineries working, producing PMS, and then the technology of the CNG is explored maximally, the prices will crash. That's a statement of fact.
Okay.
And then if you have government preparing these 4 refineries for them to start function, and you have the private sector like Dangote and Fiodas having their own refineries, and you have the CNG, another alternative, then market they are talking about is all about competition.
I'm sorry.
If you allow this in the hands of the private sector alone, you have the dictatorship of the market by the private sector, and it's more dangerous.
Okay.
Now, but if you have a combination of public and private, competing, of CNG and PMS competing, I think Nigeria will be the best for it. That's my proposal.
I'm sorry. This is where I have to end the program because we really run into the hour of 3 o'clock, and there's another program coming up next. But thank you very much, Comrade Joe Ajaero of NLC, Dr. Boniface Chizia, and the other people that are quietly listening to the program.